Two guys who peaked in high school and one incredible sports broadcaster. We'll let you decide who that is. It's the Big Three Podcast with Brady Klein, Jack Kaiser, and Sam Wiederhaft.
It's not me, I can tell you that much. We're back. Big Three, Jack Kaiser, Brady Klein, Sam Wiederhaft, three high school friends who are very bored during a pandemic and want to talk sports when
unemployed is the word
happening. Yeah, that's right.
Unemployed is the word you're looking for.
We thought we might be employed at this point. We are not, so we're going to do this instead. So let's give an introduction to each of us. I'll start. I'm Jack Kaiser. I went to Ball State University. Should be graduating this week, actually. My ceremony should have been on Saturday, but instead I'll get a diploma mailed to me. Majored in digital sports production. Got a job with the Dayton Dragons that began in March. Got furloughed like most other minor league baseball employees, unfortunately. So I am living at home in Carmel, Indiana, as we all are. And yeah, just trying to find ways to stay occupied.
Are we going in order by height? If so, I'll be last.
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay. All right, then. Fine, I'll go. What's up? I'm Brady Klein. I went to Arizona State University. Will currently still do for the next, 2 weeks or a week and a half. Similar to Jack Kaiser, the great Jack Kaiser, I studied sports broadcasting, journalism and communication, and then also photography as well. So hitting all aspects of it. Was supposed to graduate in a week and a half, but we'll be doing a Zoom graduation. Can't wait for that. It's going to be thrilling to press next to graduate, and then we'll be done.
Hold on. You guys are having a Zoom graduation?
So what we're doing for ours, I think it's on YouTube. So where we just had to send in photos. And so they're going to run through like a fake commencement and like announce everybody's name and pull up a photo of it. So I don't think it's going to be Zoom, but we're doing like a YouTube graduation.
Interesting.
Oh, it's so
yeah.
cute. That's so
yeah,
cute.
It's adorable. It's adorable. It's going to be great.
All right, Sam Wiederhaft actually went to Butler University. That's where I am right now. Kind of spending time between Carmel and Butler, and was supposed to graduate on May 9th, and now we actually rescheduled our graduation. So I technically won't be graduating Butler, or at least walking, until December 18th. So I'm going to try and hold that full-time student title for as long as I can before my parents get me a job at some grocery store or something. Studied sports media at Butler, kind of went more the play-by-play route that I know that Jack Kaiser went as well. But yeah, minor league baseball as well. Thought we had something planned out. The pandemic had other plans, and now we're all doing a podcast that hopefully a couple people, maybe 5, listen to on YouTube.
If we get lucky.
If we get 5, I will be very impressed with this first episode. I'm not going to lie. And at our peak, yeah, I'm guessing 10, maybe on a good day. If some people are really bored and you want to go to YouTube Live and check this out, we'll post it to SoundCloud later too. I mean, why not listen to 3 guys, or maybe 2 who peaked in high school and one incredible broadcaster, as our beautiful intro produced by Sam Wiederhaft said. Now, I don't know who that is. Like I said, it's probably not me, but maybe that will be determined this summer.
Only hey, when I was making that intro, I had flashbacks of when we used to play around with Audacity at Carmel High School, or not. It was an audition. Yeah. So I had a lot of fun making that intro.
Yeah, we could afford Audition at Carmel.
Yeah. And we're stuck with Audacity.
I got Audition on my computer if you want me to run through it, so I can keep running that. Did you guys not get it? Did you guys not get it through school?
No.
I think Butler might have. I'm not sure.
Luckily, my girlfriend, the great Sydney Cooley, has it through the University of Kentucky, so I use her password to get Audition. So I've been very fortunate the last few years to swipe that from her. But yeah, without that, I would be stuck with Audacity.
Oh, the audacity!
But I mean,
yay.
So this is how we really all met and got to know each other, is high school radio. Sam, you moved from California. What was it? Our freshman year? Is that right?
Yeah, right in the middle of freshman year at Carmel High School. I made the move from Orange County, California to Carmel.
An upgrade, you could say, right?
Yeah, it depends on how you're looking at it.
Not weather-wise. We're experiencing that today. You don't get to view it, but it's 46 degrees and raining outside, and we're just about to start May. So, yeah, it's fun.
I will say this, like you brought up a minute ago, Jack, is how we all got to know each other, and that was through the radio program at Carmel High School. And funny enough, guess who I talked to yesterday for about 45 minutes, and that's the great Brian Spillbeller.
Brian Spillbeller.
He says his hellos. We should try to get him on one of these episodes. He said he'll jump on anytime he wants, or we want him to. So
yes,
we'll get Spill to come on one of these shows. I'm gonna put my IBS awards up in the background too when he comes on next time, so that'll be perfect.
We had a lot of fun and scary moments with that man.
Yesterday, he was smiling the whole time. He was entertaining. He was fun. It's different.
Do you think he would be impressed with us or disappointed with us at this point?
Knowing his standards, probably disappointed.
18 out of 25. Yeah. 18 out of 25.
Yeah. I mean, man. When you thought you produced the greatest piece of content for WHJE radio, and then he tears it to pieces in front of a classroom full of 30 to 40 people and gives you an 18 out of 25, it takes some serious toughness to get through that for a few years. And gentlemen, we made it.
Hey, we made it. I will say this, when he jumped on the Zoom call yesterday, he had trouble getting his audio set up and all this stuff. And you best believe that I started to make fun of him for it. So glad we can reciprocate back to him.
Remember when he used to make us listen to podcasts at the beginning of every single class and said, this is the future of our business? And we were like, whatever, let's just go work on our projects for the day. And look at this. A few years later, several years later, we're doing a podcast. So
hey, who would have thought?
Who would have full circle?
That's right.
I actually, funny enough, was looking through one of my old laptop yesterday, because what else do I have to do? And found the notes from listening to all those podcasts on my laptop and found them all. Like the daily podcast listening thing we had. Remember we had to chart everything? Yeah. I actually found those.
See, I burn everything after each school year, so I don't have those anymore.
Don't blame me there.
Yeah. So do you guys want to try and talk sports with nothing going on?
Let's do it.
Yeah.
All right. Let's start with the Colts draft. So NFL draft, that is kind of a sporting event that happened recently. Closest thing we got. Is it Chris Ballard's best yet? This was his fourth, I believe. His first was in 2017. So Sam, kick us off.
Yeah, I think he did exactly what he had to do and get, obviously some great offensive weapons for Phillip Rivers and whoever that's going to be in the future after Rivers' contract is up. I believe it's only 2 years. I really, I said this a lot when we had our talk show at WHJE, but I was a huge USC fan. My dad went to USC. So I've seen my fair share of USC football, and that Michael Pittman pick, I think, is a great sneaky pick by Chris Ballard. Pittman, he really improved every year, and his last year, his senior year, he was really that everyday guy that Keaton Slovis was always looking toward. He got over 1,200 yards, 11 touchdowns in his senior year at USC. So he's going to be a great offensive threat when you already have, guys like T.Y. Hilton, Paris Campbell, and now you add Michael Pittman to that mix. Just a fantastic pick by Chris Ballard, and getting him in the second round too with your first pick of the draft. Thought that was really impressive. So I really like what the Colts did and continuing to add offensive threats and really improving on that side of the ball.
Something that I'm not going to let us do real quick, guys, is dodge the question, which is exactly what Sam just did. Is it his best yet?
Look, you got. I don't know, man. It's his fourth draft. You don't know. Nobody knew that Darius Leonard was going to be this fantastic linebacker. That Chris Ballard drafted a few years ago. So that's a tough question. I'm going to say no, just to further dodge the question. But I mean,
that's not dodging the question. That's answering the question.
Well, I mean, yeah. You don't know till those players step on the field, all right?
Well, yeah, we don't know, but the fun of it is projecting what we think. So, Brady, let's get your opinion on this.
In looking back at it, one of the big things that you can say is, all right, do you count DeForest Buckner as being in this draft?
That's a good question. Should we allow that, Sam?
Because the first round pick, 13th overall, the Colts had Chris Ballard traded, and it turned into what? An all-pro, Pro Bowl defensive end, defensive tackle.
You know what? I'll allow that. Yeah.
Well, if you're going to throw that in there, knowing what you already know about DeForest Buckner, you could easily say yes. However, you don't know about Michael Pittman. We all thought Paris Campbell was going to be the guy, right? We thought it was going to be the next guy next to T.Y. Hilton. He got hurt. He had some injuries. Funny enough, who would have thought, Sam, that I'd be the one to go to the Pac-12 school and you'd be stuck here in Indiana? Not me, no. But going out and being able to watch Pittman for the last 4 years, like you said, his growth every year, 1,211 this year, 1,200 yards and 11 touchdowns. He was one of the go-to guys in the Pac-12. Yeah, Brandon Ayuk was the first wide receiver off the board from the Pac-12, but Pittman was 7-8 picks after him. He was very, very close behind. So the addition of Jonathan Taylor, though, is where it's going to get me. And being able to get a guy who has such accolades like Jonathan Taylor and what was it, the 41st pick in the draft, that's going to be a big factor. But to me, this isn't Ballard's best draft yet, because you look what you did with the draft of Quentin Nelson and Braden Smith and Darius Leonard. Those three guys right there, they've started almost every game since. There have been all-pro level. Darius Leonard and Quentin Nelson have been all-pro. Braden Smith has been a great interior offensive lineman. So I'd say that was his best draft, getting Leonard and Quentin Nelson, but this is very close behind.
Look at this. We all agree on the first point. When's that ever happened? It obviously has the potential to be his best draft, just with the explosive offensive players that you guys have mentioned. But you're right. We don't know yet. And even if they do live up to some of their potential, I don't think that it is going to be as effective as the 2018 draft, because Quentin Nelson, I think most people would agree, he's one of, if not the best offensive guard in football. I mean, with the way he eats people up, he's the only guard that I can remember going viral. I mean, how many times do you see an offensive lineman going viral for crazy blocks that he makes? Pro Bowler his first 2 years, one of the best offensive linemen in the league. You get Darius Leonard, who's, I wouldn't say he's a great linebacker yet. He's still pretty raw in some areas, but he's really good. And he led the league in tackles in his rookie year. So between him and Nelson, and who am I missing here? Braden Smith, who has started, I think, all but 2 games in his 2 years with the Colts. It's hard to find that consistency in a draft. With their top 3 picks, they've gotten great foundational pieces. And the chance that Jonathan Taylor, Michael Pittman, Danny Pinter, I want to throw in there, my Ball State guy, 5th round pick, the chance that they become consistent foundational pieces along with those guys, I think he may have struck gold in the 2018 draft. They have the potential to be great. I'm just not ready to say it yet. So no, this will not be Chris Ballard's best draft yet. 2018 will still hold that mark, in my opinion.
I will say this really quickly. You know, what Chris Ballard has done over the last couple of drafts has been one of the best overall. You know, not just like this draft, but what he's done overall. He turned 3 first-round picks, 2018, pick 3, 2019, pick 26, and then 2020, the 13th pick, into, I want to say, 8 or 9 players. And he turned 3 picks into Quentin Nelson, Braden Smith, Kamoko Torrey, Jordan Wilkins, the running back, Michael Pittman Jr., DeForest Buckner, Marvell Tell, another USC guy, Ben Banigou, and Rock Ya-Sin, all of which so far, except for, you know, the 3 new additions to the team of the first-round picks this year, I'm sorry, the 2 in DeForest Buckner and Michael Pittman, all of which have made very big impacts. So you rarely see a GM be able to turn 3 picks into 6 or 7 guys that can make an immediate impact. So that, what you're looking at there, I think that's a big factor, what Ballard has done over the last couple of years.
Well, I want to add too that it's going to be tough to get consistency when you now have 4 different running backs on the roster that are probably going to do 4 different things. You know, I like the Jonathan Taylor pick. He's a very elusive running back, but nobody knows what's going to happen to Mack, you know, or Hines or Wilkins. So who's going to be that guy in the offense every single down? You know, you got 4 different running backs. How are the yards going to be split up?
You look at teams in the NFL now, and it's all right. A couple of years ago, it was Kamara and Ingram. You have 1-2 punches. You really don't have a team that has one dominant running back or one dominant offensive threat anymore. And so now Chris Ballard and Frank Reich had a phone call with Marlon Mack and said, here's what we're going to do. And Mack said, bring it on. I love it. They're able to split carries, keep everybody fresh. Say Mack one game goes off for 100 yards and 2 touchdowns. And, the other 3 running backs go for 17 yards total. It's going to balance out in the long run, especially with a guy like Jonathan Taylor, who has so many accolades, who has, you could say, already the good amount of tread on his tires. In the last 3 years at Wisconsin, he had as many carries as Marlon Mack has had in 3 years in college and 3 years in the NFL.
What I will say is, that's a great point about the phone call that Marlon Mack had with, the coaching staff, Chris Ballard. That sounds great until it's the middle of the season and Marlon Mack's gone a couple of games without big games. And then he starts to think, well, I can do what Jonathan Taylor does. Just give me a few more reps. Just give me a few more. And then they continue to give the ball to Taylor. So it sounds great on paper, but I'm really interested to see how it actually plays out because, everything I've heard about Jonathan Taylor is he's a big, character guy. He's great to have on a team, but Marlon Mack, I don't know. It seems like that, but you just never know when you get into these dual system situations, whether it's a quarterback or a running back, if that's going to affect their relationship with each other, the relationship with the team. And you have to think that if they're going to sway one way, it's going to be towards Jonathan Taylor because he's younger. It doesn't seem like he's as injury prone yet as Marlon Mack, and he has more upside.
Mack's also in a contract year. He's in the final year of his contract. So
exactly,
you're going to be seeing that, the Marlon Mack needing to prove something to get a contract, or Jonathan Taylor needed to prove something as a rookie. So I think it's going to be a good balance between the two of them.
What do you guys think of the Jacob Eason pick?
I'll jump on that if you want me to. Go ahead, Sam.
What were you saying? No, I'll go. Yeah. It's an interesting pick. The Colts are going to need a quarterback after Rivers' 2-year deal is up. And obviously Brissett's not going to be the guy. I really want to see what happens with him. It looks like they're going to keep him on the roster, which means Chad Kelly's the odd man out, which I know the fans do not like at all. But no, I know you saw Eason a lot. Brady, he's played for Wisconsin. He looks like a Colts guy. Everything about him, his stats, he's worthy of getting a shot in the next couple of years and learning from the Colts system and having a great quarterback like Phillip Rivers at the head right now. I guess we'll answer that question in 2 or 3 years of where Eason stands. But, I like the pick and pretty far down the draft too. So they didn't really risk anything. He was available. They picked him up. I think it was it's a good little something to fall back on. And he's going to I think he's going to develop well in this system here in a couple of years.
At pick 122, I think it's a very safe pick. You're looking for a team like the Philadelphia Eagles, who at 56 reached and took a guy like Jalen Hurts. And I brought up this point the other day is, all right, yes, Jalen Hurts is a great player, but is there a talent level difference for a backup quarterback between pick 56 and pick 122? And I said, no, there really wasn't much difference between drafting a backup quarterback at that point. So Philadelphia could have waited until, much later in the draft. They had picked 127. And Jacob Eason was the next quarterback taken after Jalen Hurts at 56. So, 75 picks in between. They had a lot of time. But I think pick 122 is a perfect spot to grab, a backup to groom. Rivers is only on a 1-year contract with the Colts. So he's able to, groom a guy. He's able to get a guy who's very similar to him, but Eason's got a cannon of an arm. So watching him in the Pac-12 this last year and in Georgia in years past, he's able to turn it on when he needs to. The one thing that's questionable about him is his pocket presence, but that's something that, an NFL quarterbacks coach and an NFL offensive coordinator can help groom you and help get better at during the offseason. So I think it's going to be a solid pickup for a backup quarterback, to be able to learn with Phillip Rivers, and then even a guy like Jacoby Brissett with, like you said, who knows what his future is like with the Colts.
Well, we know we have one viewer/listener because Alex Thomas just texted me, the great Alex Thomas.
Let's go.
And he said, please let me roast Brady based on his Eason comment. So I'm really interested to see what Alex has to say. I wish we could bring him in. I don't really know how. But let's see if he responds here soon with his take. He should be watching on somewhat of a delay here. So Alex, text me what you want to say to Brady, and we'll start a little discussion here. Now, like I said, Alex, I don't know what you're going to say, but I would tend to agree that I think at that point in the draft, Eason is a safe pick. He has a big arm. He has the size, the tools. So why not take a chance on him that late in the draft? No, you're not going to go to the second round and get him. Now, I will say about the Jalen Hurts pick that you brought up, Brady, Carson Wentz has obviously shown he's injury prone. So if they felt Jalen Hurts could potentially be a special quarterback, oh my God, he's joining.
Bring it on.
Yes.
Come on. Come
Yes.
on.
How we doing?
Hey, Tom. Hey, Tom.
Wow.
I couldn't resist.
That's what's so great about Zoom, guys. I sent him a link and he's on in 10 seconds.
Yeah, that's pretty
So
impressive.
Is
That's pretty
this
impressive.
the Big Four podcast now? Is that what we're calling?
Hey, listen, if you wish it was anything, it would be Hound Pound Sports Talk, but we won't go there. All right. I have two thoughts that I'll just jump in on this.
Yes.
The comment about Hurts. Are you saying, Brady, are you saying Hurts was a reach at 56?
I'm not saying he's a reach. I'm just saying they could have taken him at their next pick in the 70s.
The Eagles could have?
Yeah.
I disagree with that. But that wasn't my main point. The thing about Eason and Hurts, I wanted Hurts. I was a Hurts guy. Eason, I'm like, big time project. Arm talent's there. Doesn't have the footwork. Doesn't have the accuracy. Like the flashes. The flashes is like he's Manning. Like if you really his best throws, he's Manning. But his worst throws, he's like Jameis. And that's oof. You
Hey,
know?
Jameis can read license plates now, so he's all better.
Jameis is getting that money though. You know? But the whole Eason thing is that I'm like, I was thinking that there was potential they could take Colts could take Hurts at 44. To me, by the end of as the draft was coming in, it seemed like Hurts was moving up, not down. So Eason, I like your point. Eason, as a fourth round pick, the value's there, which is why I'm like, all right, let's see. Let's see if Philip Rivers can do something. Let's see if Wright can coach up a quarterback. But the Hurts thing, that was what stood out to me a little bit, because I think that Hurts is like a mountain ahead of Eason right now. I think Hurts will see the field this year and be a different version of a Taysom Hill for the Eagles.
You think that Jalen Hurts will play for Carson Wentz?
I'm not saying that he'll start over him, but I'm saying they're going to use him. Like, I don't
Okay.
view Hurts as a backup based on everything they've said after they drafted. Now, to me, I'm like, there's such a difference between Jalen Hurts in Philly and then Jordan Love in Green Bay. He's going to sit.
Big difference.
He's not
Big
gonna-
difference.
You know, yeah. Like, he's going to sit. He's their Rodgers to develop now. But Hurts, it's like, it seems that they want to use him. And I'm like, he's the guy that, yeah, you can run a lot of tricky things, but I liked him as a passer too. Like, I liked him as a starting quarterback. I would have been intrigued if I wanted the Colts to take him.
So one of the big things that I've seen and I've talked about in this Philly scenario is you look at a guy. So the Eagles needed a receiver big time. But one of the receivers they added as an undrafted free agent was Khalil Tate, who was a quarterback in college. You know, University of Arizona quarterback, but he's an athlete more so. So how do you look at balancing a guy like, all right, you signed Khalil Tate to probably run, you know, a very similar type, you know, athletic receiver, but can also play, you know, some quarterback and trick plays. But are you going to run the same thing with Jalen Hurts to start his career? You're going to stick him mainly focusing him at a quarterback to learn.
I mean, I feel like he's going to learn and all that, but I think there's going to be plays like with Taysom Hill that you're going to see Jalen Hurts trot it out, or like kind of like what it'll be the similar thing that I wouldn't be surprised if the Raiders do with Mariota, like 10, 12 plays a game where you're going to throw him in and for those plays, he might not do anything. But if he's lined up as a wideout or in the backfield, you're like, well, crap, who's going to throw it? Like, you at least got to be honest to it. And the second that Hurts burns him throwing a 50-yard bomb to Deshaun Jackson, you'll be like, okay.
It's going to be kind of like what we saw the Ravens do with their Heisman backfield this last year.
Yeah, exactly. Like, exactly. And then like, you're seeing it pop up. Now, Philly, if I'm Philly, did they have other needs? Like, I don't know, it could work. So I get the argument of like, why would you take a quarterback second round, even if you think he can add this little element to your offense? But Hurts is interesting. I think Hurts could totally be a dude that just like out of nowhere, you're like, oh crap, this dude, he could be a Teddy Bridgewater. I totally see it. I think he's got the arm, and then as an intangibles wise, like he seems like a good dude.
I did bring up this point on one of the other shows that I'm on right now, and that was okay. At the combine, Jalen Hurts was asked, "Would you play receiver?" And it's like, "Listen, I'm a quarterback first. I'm going to play quarterback, but I'll do anything to help the team." You know, a generic answer.
Yeah.
Lamar Jackson was asked the same thing. So I'm not saying Jalen Hurts can't develop into the quarterback that we've seen in college, but I thought it was a reach to have him do that at 57 for a team that just dumped a bunch of money into a quarterback, hopefully for the future. That's where
Oh yeah.
I'm not saying he's not going to be a good quarterback.
Philly was interesting. And to me, it's like Hurts versus Eason as they went. There wasn't a quarterback in between those two, right?
No, there wasn't.
Yeah, they were 5 and 6. And so Hurts, exactly. He was that. And I get like maybe I think he wants to play quarterback. And I think he'll put up a whatever. But I think that as long as he's in, Taysom Hill is the best comparison for me, because I'm like, yes, he plays tight end and he runs the ball. And I think that Jalen Hurts could do that too. But he doesn't. Like Hurts will still throw it just like Taysom Hill does. Like he's not an option guy that they're bringing in. You know what I mean? And I think that there's probably going to be a trick play where I bet they run Philly with Hurts going for the touchdown. You know what I mean? Like it makes sense. And so, but they now have that weapon there, and not to mention it's like Wentz is mobile too. So it's like you got 2 mobile dual threat quarterbacks, and you got a young piece in case your franchise guy does actually have some health problems and he's screwed and he could do something major.
They also signed Nate Sudfeld to a 1-year contract. So don't forget about the great Nate Sudfeld.
Oh, jeez.
Listen, Alex, you're
we
right.
don't have any IU people on here. Why are we talking about IU?
You're right. We're not talking about IU. Let's get the Hoosiers out of here for good. Okay.
And let's go here, Jack. And let's go here. How about that 5th round selection?
Danny Pinter, baby.
Danny Pinter.
We will get to him in just a moment. Back to Jalen Hurts for just a second.
Uh-huh.
I agree that I think one of the main reasons the Eagles took a chance on him in the second round is, okay, we think that Jalen Hurts might be one of the best quarterbacks in this draft. Carson Wentz can't stay on the field. I think we need to take a chance on Hurts in the second round because Wentz could get hurt in the second game of the year again. For the Colts specifically, Chris Ballard echoed to the media time and time again, we are not going to reach for a quarterback. That's just not what we're going to do. So unless Jalen Hurts was a top-notch talent that just happened to slide to the second round, the Colts were not going to reach for any quarterback at that point. Jacob Eason happens to be there. What was he? 4th round or 6th round?
Eason?
Yeah.
Eason was 4.
4. Okay. 4th round pick.
122.
I mean, you said it. He's shown flashes of Manning, so why not at that point? Especially since, they planned on developing a young quarterback. Why not take a chance on him and not reach? Because also what we need to keep in mind is, okay, Packers draft Jordan Love. We've seen some rumors floating around. Aaron Rodgers could potentially leave Green Bay. Indianapolis in the NFL is not like Indianapolis in the NBA. Market does not matter nearly as much in the NFL. And I'm just saying Indianapolis could be a much more attractive free agent spot in the NFL.
Especially with the offensive line.
Yes.
Here's
with a
the
great
problem.
offensive line.
Here's the problem. I've gone down this path. And the problem with Rodgers right now is that he just signed that 4-year deal. So he's locked up until he's 40. You can't wait the Colts aren't going to wait and sign him at 40. That's the thing, is that if this is going to fall apart, it's going to happen this year. And that's what's really exciting, because it's like, if it's going to crash, it is either going to be during the season where you see the tensions, or it's going to be after the season that all of a sudden, bombshell, Rodgers wants out. And at that point, anybody who remotely needs a quarterback is going to fly in. Then that makes me think, if I'm Indianapolis and I am a year from now, Rivers, it could have worked, but you can still see it, and Rodgers is there, there's not that much you'd have to give up, if we're being so honest. It'd have to be a couple second round, like a first rounder, couple second rounders, and then pick somebody.
Like you said, we've seen in years past, Ballard isn't afraid to deal those first rounders.
Yeah. Yeah, no, definitely. And he likes his draft capital, but I'm like, that's the only guy that I think you got to, I think that Ballard's a dude who totally has a plan, but he also can read the situation and be like, he was thinking luck, and he's able to adjust. And to me, it becomes Rodgers as one of those guys. If this year he still shows that he's got it, Rodgers is one of those guys that it's like, all right, well, Philip, we had you on the 1-year deal. Let's see what Aaron Rodgers can do for 3 years.
Alex, you bring up a great point about him being able to adjust. I just thought of this. What other GM has had to deal with 2 major shocks like he's had to, with Josh McDaniels backing out when he's expected to be your head coach, and then Andrew Luck retiring right before the season starts? I mean, who else has had to deal with something like that?
Nothing. No one.
It's insane. So I give him a lot of props.
And I'll also say it. He absolutely murdered this draft.
It seems like it. It seems like it.
That's all you can work on. We're all working on potential.
I know.
But it seems like
it's at least exciting, right?
Yeah, well, I think everything's exciting at this point.
Well, yeah, but
I got so amped watching a rerun of a 2008 Game 6 Western Conference first round playoff game the other day. I was amped in my kitchen watching Steve Nash go back and forth with Tim Duncan. It was incredible.
Great series.
Man, that's when you know it's bad.
Yep, exactly.
I will say this, though. This is, I say this jokingly, but I also say this very serious as well. Being able to get the number 1 ranked kicker as an undrafted free agent is big time.
Yeah.
With especially, Vinatieri as a free agent right now, and it's Chase McLaughlin as the other kicker on roster right now. Is that who it is for the Colts?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. So bring in Hot Rod. It doesn't hurt.
Mm-hmm.
And him not going drafted was bizarre.
Yeah, well, yeah, I agree. And I like McLaughlin. He seemed nice last year. It was all right. The interesting thing is I saw yesterday that Vinatieri wants to come back.
Yeah.
And he wants to come back at 47, and that apparently the rehab process for his knee has been slowed down essentially due to Corona. So he's trying to come back at 47 for his 25th season injured and expect someone to sign him. I'm like, who? I'm marching to Ballard's office and I go, kicking specialist coach. Come on. Let's make this easy. Let's make this easy. We'll do the Robert Mathis route.
Sam, you seem to have a distasteful reaction to Adam Vinatieri coming back. What are your thoughts?
I mean, I don't understand how you can ever bring him back after last year. He blew so many games for the Colts in late game scenarios, and you bring in a kicker in the draft. There's no way. And I don't understand. I get he wants to come back, but no. Alex already said he's 47 years old, and especially being a free agent, you have to restructure a whole new contract for a guy who's 47. I mean, it doesn't make any sense to me. And we saw how bad he was last year. Colts already got a new kicker. Move on. Vinatieri did what he did in his prime, the best kicker of all time. But let's let him walk.
2 trains of thought with that here. One, from a management perspective, I think that at least extending him the grace of competing for the job in training camp, I think that's fine. If he shows consistently, I am going to beat out Blankenship and McLaughlin, then maybe you give him a chance. Maybe. For Vinatieri, he's got to have some serious cojones to bet on himself, to come back, win the job, and then have a good year. Because at this point, if he has if he gets a shot and has another season like he did last year, 1, you have to blame management, but 2, I mean, that's how we're going to remember Adam Vinatieri, and it's going to put a stain on his resume. Yes, we're going to know him as the greatest kicker of all time, but for a while, we're going to remember, man, it was almost embarrassing how he couldn't give it up when he clearly was done.
Well, it's kind of look at the same way as how do you remember Peyton as a Colt? Do you remember him in his last season? Or do you remember him winning Super Bowls and
he won a Super Bowl in his last season
with the Colts?
Yeah, I mean, the injury just totally set that train off rail. But I don't know. It just feels different. I think it feels like almost a Brett Favre situation where it's just like, dude, you're done. Give it up. I love Adam Vinatieri, but
Don't go play for the Jets.
yeah,
Don't go play for the Jets.
Well, I think, okay, yeah, last year was bad, but before that, the dude was still kicking at the highest level. So to sit there and say, oh, dude, you're done, like Favre got to the point where it was like, dude, you've retired twice. Like, you're on your third team. You're with the Jets, and you're really not making a run at a title. Like, why? This kind of became more of it. But the thing with Manning and his injury was that in Indy, at least, we didn't get to see his demise. You know,
Yeah.
It's like everything was good. Everything was coasting. And then neck injury, we realized how bad we were without him and that he is old and going to be coming back from this thing that involved nerve damage. And you roll the dice. And now, of course, how do you look back on that situation? Is that the right call to move on from Manning? I don't know. I think the argument can 100% be made both ways because of that.
I would say it was the right call at that time. I mean, you don't know what was going to happen in the future. And you had Andrew Luck sitting right there. You said it. He was old. You have potentially the next John Elway, next Peyton Manning sitting right there. How often is that going to come around? You know, you have the number one pick. I say you take a chance. I think they did the right thing. It just didn't work out great.
Yes, but I'll play it this way. They keep Manning. They draft Luck. Manning still put up the numbers. He came back. So they could have retooled the offense. And I can say this, Andrew Luck would not be retired right now if that was how things played out. And so the Colts now sitting here with a fresh Andrew Luck in his third year, because Manning retired.
You think a talent like Andrew Luck would have
Sat for
been
that
able
long.
to sit for that long?
Sat for 4 years.
When was the last time we saw a 1,
Okay,
2, or
okay.
third overall pick sit for 4 years?
Okay, but think about this. Manning retired in what, 2016?
Yes.
2016, so after the 2016 season or before the 2016 season?
After the 2016
After.
season.
Okay,
Yeah.
so you got 2012, 2013, 2014, 2015, 2016. 5 years. The last 2 years that Manning was in Denver, there was he's got the foot problem and his hands kind of messed up. So that's what I'm saying is that if you think about it realistically, you sat him for 3 years, max. And then either Manning walks and goes to a different team as an old quarterback, or he just retires a little bit earlier because maybe they would have gotten another Super Bowl in those 3 years and he felt like he completed it. But, and also I think he came back that last season because he knew that defense was legit and he just had to be himself and they'd have a shot.
I don't know, man.
It's
Hey, we could
intriguing.
talk
It's an intriguing theory, though.
We can talk hypotheticals all day long.
Yeah, you're right.
It is intriguing. It is intriguing. Alex, we'll keep you on for this. Let's keep it
and then
moving
I
here.
need to get out of there.
Who is your favorite pick
Oh, I got
of the
more.
draft?
My favorite
And-
pick of the draft,
Yeah.
overall or Colts?
Colts.
I think it's changed since draft day, just in watching stuff and thinking about it and hearing Reichenbauer's interviews, because I think they're, and watching that. If you guys haven't watched that Colts 20-minute documentary about draft day, that thing is amazing. Like, it makes total sense. It's probably Jonathan Taylor, because I'm just like, man, it doesn't even matter what happens with Marlon Mack. I thought Mack was great and I really like him, but you got to be honest with the injuries and all that. So him behind the offensive line, he's got a lot of tread on the tires, but man, it kind of just feels like it could be an equivalent to that Ezekiel Elliott season when he was behind that killer Cowboys offensive line. Similar kind of running styles and backs. I think Taylor's faster. It just could be really, I don't know. It could be interesting. But I like the Easton pick too. And if I'm being honest, it's not a favorite. I'm not a homer. The Danny Pinter pick for interior offensive line depth is perfect.
That
Honestly,
was
it's perfect.
that was my one knock on Ballard for this whole draft was you look at your offensive line. Yes, they're the only team to start all 5 offensive linemen this last year, but you need more offensive line depth because in years past we've seen them getting screwed. Like they're stuck with LaRaven Clark moving to all 3 positions on the offensive line. That's my one knock on Ballard for this whole draft was you need to go after more offensive line depth. But I have 0 complaints overall. Outside of
Well, and they lost Joe Haig, who was kind of that utility guy on the inside. He left for Tampa. So it's like you needed that person. And, hopefully Pinter's not in a position that he has to play to start off, but he's quick. He's got great legs. He's huge. He's got that tight end background. The biggest knock on him is his short arms. And it's like, okay, well, perfect. Put him at guard. Put him at center. And I don't think he'll sniff tackle in his NFL career unless they absolutely needed him to.
Sam, go ahead.
Yeah, what was it, Sam?
Well, first off, while we're talking WHJ, I got a request from Leah Robleski to be next week's guest.
Oh, boy.
Oh,
We're moving.
We'll see if we can squeeze him in.
Can we get Brian Spillbeller on this?
Yeah.
I had a 45-minute conversation with Spill yesterday.
Yeah, and you didn't ask him to come on the program?
He's gonna come on. Don't worry.
Yeah, he'll be on. We got plenty of time.
We tried to get the great Noah Burks on the program this week, but we didn't get a response.
On Wisconsin, baby. On Wisconsin.
Yeah, we thought we were big time until we didn't get a response from Noah Burke.
Well, isn't that how it goes? What was your question, Sam?
No, I was just I thought that we haven't talked about, or you haven't said anything about the Pittman pick, Tom, and I thought I talked about it earlier in the show, but watching him at USC and looking at his stats from his senior year as a Trojan, under a great offensive coordinator, Graham Harrell and Keaton Slovis,
Hollywood Dougs,
who's a rising quarterback. Hollywood Dougs, yep. There's a reason why Big Cat went to USC. Pittman is going to be a reliable guy. What?
Sam.
What?
You didn't have to do this to yourself, but you asked for it. Pittman's great. I think Pittman's great, but get out of here with the USC crap. Sam, in the last 10 years, hold on. All you've done as a USC fan is watch that program fall in national relevancy year after year.
No, I agree.
Literally,
100%
year after year, it gets worse.
I'm no longer nearly as much of a fan as I used to be when I was in high school.
How convenient.
Following the team,
Turn to crap. Sam's no longer a fan.
Sam, you can't just decline in your fandom because the team's going through a rough spot.
Who would have thought that I would be at more USC games over the last 4 years than Sam would?
Me, because Sam's a fake fan.
I fell out of love with the team when they didn't hire Coach O and instead hired Steve Sarkisian, and that's where it was like, I think that was my junior year of high school. That's where I was like, all right, this isn't going to go well, and it hasn't, and I've been right. So I've fallen off the whole USC train, but I wanted to say I think the Pittman pick is going to be good for the receiving core of the Colts. I already talked about it, but I thought that was Balor's best pick of the draft. Yeah.
There's no doubt that USC receivers coming out in the draft, crazy talented. They always get a ton of talented skill position guys. That's what USC's kind of been known for. It's just been hilarious how they've had all this great talent, yet they've sucked the last several years.
It's crazy. It's like it's a program problem or something.
Yeah.
It's Clay Helton. It's all on Clay Helton. Why he didn't get fired after this past season is beyond me. I have no idea what Mike Bohn, the new athletic director, is thinking, but that's a conversation for a different time.
I will say this about the Pittman pick. And watching in years past, you have guys like Juju. You have guys like Adoree Jackson, who was an athlete at USC, went on to play DB, also played receiver. But you look at some of these receivers, and people are saying Pittman's the best of all of them to come out recently. So to be able to get him at 34 in the second round, you have zero complaints there, especially if you're going to compare him to other USC players in the NFL.
The guy's not just talented. He's big. And most importantly, he doesn't drop the ball.
Yeah.
5 drops in his career.
I think it was 2, 5, something like that. Yeah.
Not many.
I don't think that he has the highest ceiling of the receivers, but he's got one of the highest floors.
Yeah.
Like even if he misses, I think he's a more reliable Dante Moncrief, which if that was the big thing on Moncrief was that the dude can clearly catch it. He's a beast, but he's not healthy and he just disappears. Pittman doesn't seem like that guy. So I like that. And I like the Washington State pick, Desmond Patton, 6'4" also. I'm like, ingest as much size as you can into the offense to match you've got a lot of speed now, but like you got to have some situations. And I think Trey Burton, the tight end signing, will help with that too.
Patman was one of the
Ballard completely retooled the offense. I mean, it's going to be weird because it's going to be a whole new team next year.
Yeah.
And this is a legit team, absolutely a legit team. I'm high on Rivers. I think Rivers still has a couple of years.
In the right situation, and it seems like it's the right situation.
Yep. And honestly, if the Colts offensive line stays healthy, and their secondary can stay healthy, that's the two pieces at this point. Both those units stay healthy. This is a team that's in the conversation. They are not quite Kansas City, but they're in the conversation of this is a good team that could surprise people.
Yeah.
I would agree.
All right.
Alex, it was great to have you, buddy. Thank you
I'm gonna
for
let
calling
Victoria
in.
be Oh, and now it's yeah. Thanks for letting me on. And I'll leave on this note. Sam, USC is now about as relevant as Arizona State is in football. So what does that say about both programs, honestly?
Arizona State had more 4- and 5-star recruits this year from Southern California than USC signed.
Okay. Turn them into wins, then we'll talk.
Go Irish.
Go Irish, baby.
never
Hey,
gonna
those
be-
cards, also hot take.
Never
Put your money down
as
now.
low as Ball State's football program.
This is the lock it in bet. Cards to make a bowl game next year.
Yes.
Lock it in.
Hey, Alex, go look at the last time ASU played Notre Dame. See what happened. 2015.
Yeah, it wasn't pretty, but you know, you were a sophomore in high school then. So Sam was a USC fan back then. So things
Yeah.
change, you know?
Yeah. Long time
Alex,
ago.
I'm out. Thanks for
Alex,
letting me
get the
hop
hell
on,
out of
guys.
here.
See ya.
Yeah, Alex.
Big fan of the random drop-in guests. We should do that every week.
Well,
Yeah.
what's his name? JJ
Leo.
Watt was just tweeting like, "Hey, Zoom calls. Let me drop in." Maybe we should have tweeted at him.
Yeah, we shut up. He was doing that yesterday.
Sam, I know you've been biting.
this podcast.
Yeah, Sam, I know you've been biting your tongue a lot. Let's talk about the MLB. This is your realm now, right?
Yeah, just about. I think, I mean, obviously not a lot to talk about as far as playing, but I think, I'm sure it's the same for you, Kaiser, but looking on Twitter and seeing all the different plans that are just kind of coming up that, you know, either Ken Rosenthal or Jeff Passan is reporting about, you know, at first it was everybody goes to Arizona, and then it was, okay, everybody's now in Arizona and Florida. And now it's, you know, oh, now everybody gets to play at their home stadiums, and you know they're just all reports, and nothing's going to be set in stone, at least for a while. But I think it's really promising that there are these reports coming out, which means that the MLB and Rob Manfred are really getting on this thing. Like, hey, we have to play. You know, we got to play. And I think the MLB recognizes that. Hey, if you come back. If you're the first sport to come back, the exposure you're going to get from that, and everybody talks about, you know, the MLB's dying, nobody's watching the game anymore. If you're the first sport to come back, everybody's going to be paying attention to you. And I think Rob Manfred recognizes that, and they're really trying to get something in place where they can get something on TV and get some ratings. And I think that's promising, at least, you know, right now where there's nothing going on and we're almost in May.
You know, I'll jump in here real quick. And, you know, I've been exposed to spring training the last 3 or 4 years out in Arizona. I've helped cover all of the Cactus League there. And this year was just so much different than years past that I've experienced. You know, the middle of the spring training season we were in, I think it was the third week, is when everything really started to go downhill, third or fourth week. And I was covering a game between the Royals and the A's. The A's stadium, and on the video board popped up before the game. It's like, fans, unfortunately, due to the current health concern, players will not be signing autographs. They will just be signing balls and then throwing them. So it got to the point where players weren't like grabbing something to sign for fans. So the MLB's concern there was already underlying before everything was shut down, at least at this stadium. They were trying to do everything they could to conserve the players' health and make sure everyone was safe. That players would take like a bucket of BP balls, sign it, and throw it into the crowd. So to see something like that, the MLB was already taking precautions before. And so I could see them being the first major sport coming back. You know, NASCAR, golf, and IndyCar all have, like, you know, a slotted date they're coming back already, whereas all 4 major sports leagues don't. Yes, hockey, you know, would be into summer months, which really isn't their season, but every other sport could really, you know, come back at this time. And so seeing what the MLB did during spring training, especially in Arizona, from what I saw, is they took all the necessary restrictions and guidelines at the time being for what the information they had was. You could see them playing with no fans. I mean, I saw a clip yesterday. It was like 5-6 years ago to the day where the Orioles played a game with no fans because of the Baltimore riots. So do you look to that and say, all right, how's the health concern different than, the public safety concern? It's a little different. But how does the MLB go about taking a game like that was played just a few years ago and compare it to what could be played for in every game, every team for the entire season?
Yeah, I think the MLB is more likely to come back just because partially it's an outdoor sport. I mean, golf will be the first sport to come back. That's obviously not one of the major sports, but that is the sport where the individuals are most isolated. So to me, it's a no-brainer. Golf will start when they are planning to, which is June 8th. I think that's their first scheduled tournament for the PGA Tour this year. So, but baseball, the players are still relatively isolated from each other. I mean, they can come into close contact in certain situations, but it's not consistent like over the course of a basketball game. So that helps a little bit. And then another key is just testing. If we have enough testing to make sure we're testing these guys every day, okay, you're clear. If you do have the coronavirus, okay, we can shut it down, try and isolate where it came from. So that's a big part of baseball and all sports opening back up. But it being an outdoor sport, the fact that I think they can pretty easily play without fans, and they can make some adjustments with some of these plans that they're talking about to limit travel. I think that baseball has about a 50% chance of coming back. What percentage would you guys give it? I think it's 50.
Oh, I'm giving it 90. I think, one of the reasons I was so excited that we started this back up is because I've been listening to another podcast called the Big Fly Baseball Show with the Angels broadcaster Victor Rojas, and they've been talking to current players, and everyone's saying, hitters need about 3 weeks. We need about 3 weeks to come back, to get like a notice that here's the date, here's a little modified spring training for a couple of weeks, and then we'll be ready. They said pitchers are about 5 to 6 weeks, so we'll see how long that period is. But I absolutely believe baseball is coming back. I would put it at 90%. Every report that I've seen says that there will be a season. And I know that's optimistic during the time right now, but they're going to do whatever they can to get baseball on the field. And, there's not going to be fans in the stands. I think that's a pretty established thing that's going to be happening, but I don't really think people care right now. They just want something live. You heard Tom talk about how hype he was getting for 2006 Western Conference Finals Game 6 or something. I mean, people just want live sports, including myself. I am getting sick of watching these reruns. And that's what makes me believe that baseball is going to be back. I think July 1st is a pretty good date to get the season rolling and get a modified 80 to 100 games in.
Yeah, I agree with you on that, Sam. I say 85 to 90% chance it comes back. Like you said, you've been listening to the Angels broadcaster to his podcast, and then during the Pac-12 tournament, Dodgers broadcaster Joe Davis, who also calls games for Fox, was there and calling the games for Fox. So we've known him for a couple of years working Pac-12 games and things like that. And so we talked to him and said, what are your thoughts? This was right before spring training had been totally canceled. It was right in the last couple of days of it. And he's like, listen, I think we get a season, but it's going to be modified heavily. So whether it be 7-inning games, double headers, split down into a lesser number of games in the season, say it be 80, 90, 100 games, about half of what they normally play, you're going to see something come up with the MLB, but it's not going to be what we're used to. It's not going to be 9 innings, 162 games. It's not going to be like that. It's going to be something, but it's going to be modified for sure.
Yeah, I think it's definitely going to be modified, but let's just put it on a timeline. Let's do some quick math here. I think that if this 3 to 4 week warm-up process doesn't start by July 1st, that it's not going to happen. So it's about May 1st. They have 2 months to figure out what they're going to do and then start this warm-up process. That is a lot of time, but I will say, I think the determining what they're going to do part of it, that will take some time, and this 2 months will go by quickly. So I think they need to decide what is going to happen soon.
For your spring training, the modified spring training that we would see, do you say you're the MLB commissioner, say you're Rob Manfred, say you're the decision makers of the MLB. Do you have them do a spring training against other teams, or do you have everything be strictly inter squad? Do you say minor league baseball is taken away? Do you expand the roster size for MLB rosters? What do you do in that scenario?
Just from reports that I've read, and I don't know anything, like being part of a minor league organization, although I was just recently furloughed. That doesn't give me any extra information whatsoever. Just I'm exposed to reports more often because I'm in that environment. There probably won't be a minor league baseball season. I don't know for sure yet, but everything that I've heard is leaning towards MLB rosters will be expanded. There will be a minor league season or a major league season with 40-man rosters because of the potential for injury. Mm-hmm. So I think minor league baseball, it's a whole nother discussion, but there will be expanded rosters for Major League Baseball. And if we are going to have any baseball, it's going to be a modified season, probably starting late June, early July. Yeah.
Yeah, Brady, you talk about that spring training. The spring training facilities in Arizona are, they're pretty close together. I mean, the teams aren't really spread out that far. In Florida, though, it's a whole different story. You got teams that are hours away, training facilities that are hours away. Some teams in Arizona share a facility. So that is,
I'd say Arizona.
I believe a spring training.
In Arizona, the furthest you have to travel is like 45 minutes to an hour. And that's from like 1 to 1, like the furthest apart. So you're really, really close for everything.
I think by the warm-up period, if I don't see the harm in letting them play against each other, because you're going to have to do it in 3 to 4 weeks anyways. So you might as well start testing that process right now. So I don't see the benefit of isolating them for 3 to 4 weeks when you're just going to have to let everybody mesh eventually anyway. So you might as well start a little bit sooner.
Sam, back to what you're saying. Sorry, I cut you off there.
Yeah. Go for it, BK.
I said I cut you off on that last one. What were you going to say about the spring training facilities?
I forgot my script. I don't know what I was going to say.
All right.
Prompter cut out for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, the prompter cut out.
You guys have anything else on the MLB?
Let's just hope we get it back. We need something.
Yeah.
I would be okay with the MLB coming back. That's how much it shows how desperate I am of sports coming back right now.
Brady isn't the biggest baseball enthusiast, not nearly.
I've grown over the years being in Arizona and being surrounded and being able to cover and go work a lot of Diamondback games and spring training. So being exposed to it's really helped, and especially college baseball out at Arizona State's a big deal. Number 1 pick in the draft coming up, no big deal, whatever.
Baseball is an art form. It is an experience that grows on you over time, Brady, and I am glad that you are starting to jump on the bandwagon.
Yes, I am. It's been fun.
Good. All right. Let's end our show with a segment idea I had yesterday. Daily stupidity. I think that there's nothing wrong with trying to find sports or non-sports stories that make us laugh, and let's just share them with each other. So I'll go ahead and start. I have a couple actually. Let's see here. So I found this one. 18 hours ago, a man was hit in the face 43 times by wet sponges, and that is a Guinness World Record. I mean,
I think
that's awesome.
Was that like 43 times in a minute? Like what was it?
Yeah.
Had to have been.
I know it was timed. I'm looking to see what the exact time was.
Probably 30 seconds or a minute.
Yeah, 30-second time period.
Yeah.
30 seconds. Think of that. He's going rapid fire. He threw 54 wet sponges and hit on 43 of them. And I believe
threw them himself?
No, some guy was throwing them at his face. And he was like, based on the picture, it looks like he was about 8 to 10 feet away.
All right.
Interesting. And then 2 years ago, to the date, a Florida man, just Google Florida man
figure.
in any day, yeah,
Florida man. Yep.
was arrested for kicking swans in the head while practicing karate.
Nothing wrong with that. If it was
Obviously-
if it was a goose, it'd be perfectly okay.
Yeah.
Listen,
Yeah.
I
don't know
am
about a swan. Do swans attack used to? I don't know.
no. I think of swans as gentle, elegant creatures.
Yes.
Geese, on the other hand, are menaces to the human population. So I am all for animal safety, animal well-being, everything. But
Get rid of the geese. Who cares?
if there's one we got to get rid of, it's the geese. Good for the authorities for arresting this man for kicking swans in the head, though. That has to be abolished. Swan kicking, no way.
All right. I got one here. You know, this is my, I would say daily stupidity, but this happened, 25, 30 years ago. And that is, how in the hell do you let Dennis Rodman take a 48-hour trip to Vegas in the middle of the season that ended up being longer, and you find him with Carmen Electra? You know, this past week or 2 weeks ago, after the first episode, I talked with Joe Klein, who was the backup center for that Bulls team. And I asked him about that. I was like, what were your thoughts on it? He's like, listen, if he was in his first and only year on the Bulls at the time, Joe Klein was, and he said, if I would have known, if I would have said anything, I would have been probably sent to Vegas and kicked off the team. But that showed how crazy that team was, is you sort of have to let him do what he wants to do, and he'll give you results on the basketball court. But how do you say you got 48 hours, go, and he comes back, 72, 128 hours later, something like that? 3 or 4 days later?
Yeah, he said it would be 2 days. It ended up being like a week.
Yeah.
It just showed I think it showed a couple things. One, that you could let Rodman go and that he had the trust and belief in MJ and Jordan, like he respected them enough to eventually come back, even if it meant MJ coming to his apartment and grabbing him by the nose ring. And then you also have trust on the other side that, Dennis, you can go do your thing, but we know when you come back, you'll be ready to go because you got all that crap out of your system. So the personalities on that team, the entire documentary is outstanding, by the way. Have
Very
you been
good.
watching it, Sam?
Oh yeah, I've seen the first 4 episodes.
Okay.
I like it. It's something, but no, I've kept up with it.
I will say this. In my conversation with Joe Klein, I asked him about that story, and he said after that, Phil wanted everybody to be themselves. But one thing he did was, say they had a day off. So say they played on a Tuesday, and then they had a day off, and then they had a game on Thursday, right? Before that, Rodman, if they had that day off, after the game on Tuesday night would end, he would get on a charter flight and fly to Vegas and be back by the game on Thursday. It got to the point where after this whole thing happened, Phil Jackson started holding 30-minute film sessions on that Wednesday in the middle of the day at like 1 p.m. So not enough time to go to Vegas and back. And it was 30 minutes. It was pointless. They would do nothing. It was something to keep essentially Rodman from bolting off and coming back.
Yeah. Phil was creative in keeping players in line, but he knew how to do it, and he obviously got successful results. But I just love hearing all the inside stories about these personalities, and one of the greatest sports dynasties ever. And give props to ESPN for finding a way to move production to a faster rate, move it up to give it to us when we need it most, instead of in June or July, whenever it was supposed to be released.
Yeah.
I'll tell
Good
you what,
stuff.
I think the best part of that documentary was the Dennis Rodman meme where he's going, click, go this way, click, go that way, that way. That's the best part. That was awesome.
That's what Sam got out of the documentary, is Dennis Rodman making funny noises.
Well,
Yeah, that's the best part.
it became a good meme.
It was really good.
You probably saw me tweet this, but my favorite part was just the TV anchor that shot straight at Doug Collins. If you're waking up and getting ready for work this morning, you're probably not Doug Collins. I mean, it just sort of.
Hey, how about young Bob Costas too?
Yeah, with the bowl cut.
Sam,
No.
your daily stupidity.
There's some gold. Yeah. So this is. I'm not going to refer to him by his normal Twitter name because I don't want to say that on this show. But Sports Talk Barry, if you know this guy on Twitter, when he this was so he was all over the draft, and he his at on Twitter is at Ultra Tough Scene, and he switches his name to be like Ian Rappaport or Adam Schefter, and they'll like switch his profile picture so it actually looks like him. And he just had the best tweets during the draft, and he's still doing it. He tweeted out 20 hours ago, hashtag Packers QB Aaron Rodgers has informed the team that he is retiring. Wow. And people for this. I mean, he doesn't have the check mark. He's not verified or anything, but people and, reporters, I know that Skip Bayless last year fell for one of his reports about James Harden getting in a fight with Chris Paul because Chris Paul was making fun of James Harden for his man boobs. It's awesome. And so Sports Talk Barry on Twitter, he's hilarious. I know Pat McAfee gave him a shout out on his show a couple days ago, but man, I cannot believe the stupidity of people falling for that. When he's not even verified. I mean, that's the first thing I look for when I see a report is the little check mark. And someone who's at his Ultra Tough Scene is getting these reporters. It's unbelievable.
People are quick to consume information. They want it right away.
Yeah.
They want to believe crazy things, and that leads them to like and retweet this nonsense.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Oh, yeah.
Cool. So that's all of our daily stupidity, guys. We thought it would be like 30 to 45 minutes, and we went an hour and 6.
Blame Alex Thomas.
Yeah, definitely.
That's all on him.
He extended us by a good 15 to 20. So
It's fine. Hey, we get to catch
Yeah.
up with those friends.
exactly. Why not? We can do whatever the heck we want on this show.
Bingo.
There's probably very few people watching, although Alex tuned in, so that's something.
We got Leo report.
Yeah, Leo Robleski shared the link with a few friends and family members. So hey, maybe we got to that magic 5 mark we were hoping for, guys.
Let's see right here. Our peak viewer at one point, we had 4.
Dang it. So close.
But we've had 17 total viewers.
17 total. Okay.
Next week we'll get that 5. We'll get that 5.
We'll get 5.
We'll get to 5, guys. All right. Let's wrap it up. Good to see you, fellas. Let's talk next Thursday. And
You too.
who knows what we'll talk about.
Yeah, who knows? It is what it is. Hopefully sports.
All right. See you, fellas.